Hello, student. Welcome again. My name is Adeomi Ogufuyi. As before, we were discussing about the National Common Entrance Examination for federal, state, government colleges, mathematics and quantitative aptitude test. The 23rd edition. This is the one I'm using. We started one last class, so I think we stopped at number 20 or so. So we are returning back to that same common entrance. I actually picked the second question. When you look for the 23rd edition, after getting it, so that you can have a simulated case where you can look at the questions we're solving and connect it together with what we have here. Are you ready? So I'm going to start for number 19. I've succeeded in writing question number 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Okay. So we're going to solve them. I'll write more questions, we solve them, but watch how simple these things are. Let's come to look at number 19. It says subtract 1.137 from 25% of 75.52. They say you should take this one away from 25% of this. Actually, the question might look strange. Is what problem? This is the best way to write it. It should have been written as 25% times 75.52 minus 1.137. Get it clear? If I tell you subtract 2 from 5, that will look like this. That's it. But if I had said subtract 5 from 2, 5 from 2 will be this. So get used to the word. When they say take away 2 from 8, that means that's 6. But when they say take away 6 from 8, that's a different case entirely. So you must learn to understand when they tell you 1.13, subtract 1.13 from 25% of this. So get used to it. This is it here. This is it in the actual form, the way it's supposed to be written. So I'll remove this, and we look for 25% of this one here. What do we have? We have 25 over 100 times 75.52. Okay. Now, if you look at this, 25 can divide itself 1, divide 100, 4, minus 1.137. Now, we're going to write 75.52. You know, this is a 1. 25 divided by 100 is 1 over 4. So you'll be having 1 times this as all over 4 minus 1.137. Don't get confused here. Don't get confused here. We know 25%. You also know that 25% is 25 over 100, and 25 over 100 is 1 over 4 in fraction. So 1 will times 75.52, and 4 will go underneath. So you subtract this. Now, if you are not comfortable with this, you can use your long division by saying, okay, 75.52, ready? 7 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. You minus this, you have 3. You bring down 5. 35 divided by 4 is 8. 8 times 4 is 32. You minus this, you have 3. You bring down 5. But now, take note. There's a decimal point here. So you need to send that decimal point back to where it is. Now, 35 divided by 4 will still give us another 8. 8 times 4 is 32. You minus this, you have what? 3. Then you can bring out the last 2. So 32 divided by 4 is another 8. So 8 times 4 is what? 32. Subtracting this will give us a 0. So which means that 75.52 divided by 4 is still the same as 18.88 minus, now what they say you should not subtract. The whole of this is 25% of 75.52. Everything we're doing here. You use a long division. You have to. You showed long division, so you have to use it because that's the reason why you were shown. So you're going to subtract 1.137 from it. So I guess that should give us let's do our subtraction somewhere very close by. Okay, let me bring it here, so we don't get the board clustered up. This is our long division. So separate the work. So I will have 18.88, 1.137. Now, because we want to subtract, you must make sure decimal point will be exactly where the decimal point is, number 1. Then, because this one has 2 decimal places, this 88, and this one has 3 decimal places, include a 0 here. You would have been showed. This is a National Common Entrance exam class, so I think you understand what I'm saying. So now we subtract. Add 1 here, that's 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. Agree? Now, here is no longer 8, but 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. 8 minus 1 is 7 points. Then we can say, okay, 18 minus 1 should give us about 17. So the answer to that question becomes 17.743 as your answer. Since you're following me from home over there, that means you can actually join me in checking the answer to see. The answer here is 17.743, which is answer D. This is the answer to that number, what? 19. Take note of it, 17.743. Watch the video again slowly if it's not clear. But remember, it's long division we use the word. Divide this 75.52 with the 4. Actually divided 25 in 100, 4. Are we good? All right, so that's the answer to that number 19 precisely. Now let us look at number 20. It said 1 centimeter is, what is 1 centimeter? Let me be very certain again. I think the question is 1 centimeter. Number 20. 1 centimeter is, now the word centi, let me help you out. The SI unit for distance is called meter. That's the smallest unit of measurement across the world, is meter. And a meter is more or less like something like this, like my hand span like this. It's like the size of the ceiling board, those ceiling board up there that they use for asbestos. Now, if that's 1 meter, and there are smaller units that are smaller than a meter, if the smallest unit of measurement of distance or length in the world is called a meter, but there are smaller things. What about if you want to measure a notebook? What about if I want to measure this particular marker board, this marker, the whiteboard marker here? Then I can't be using meter. I'll have to use something like millimeter, centimeter, or decimeter. Now, let's get something straight. A meter is the SI unit for distance. But if you divide a meter by 1,000 pieces into 1,000 places, like into smaller, tiny places, it becomes a millimeter. So that means millimeter is the smallest unit. If you want to measure the length of a fly or an ant, it has to be in millimeter. Now, if you divide a meter into 100 places, it becomes centimeter. So that means centimeter, more or less like a meter divided into 100 units, means one of those units will be a centimeter. And likewise, if you divide a meter by 10 into 10 places, you have decimeter. Which brings us back to our popular song that you sing in school there. They tell you, 10 millimeter make 1 centimeter. 10 centimeter make 1 decimeter. 10 decimeter make 1 meter. That's the truth there. But with this explanation, you will know that milli, centi, deci, they are lesser than a meter. Let's now go straight to the solution here. Let's see. They say a millimeter is what? More than 1 meter. Nope, this cannot be true. A millimeter cannot be more than 1 meter. Meter is the SI unit for distance. And this other remaining 3, they're smaller than it. Let's go to the second one. Is equal to 1 millimeter. How can 1 centimeter be equal to 1 meter? No, it cannot be this one. Now, let's see. Did I say equal to 10 millimeter? Yes, I can agree with you. I can agree with this number 3. A 10 millimeter make 1 centimeter. So what you have here is the case of 10 millimeter is the same as what? 1 centimeter. Do not attempt to look almost 1 kilometer. No. A kilometer is 1,000 meter. A meter is like this. 1,000 of this meter is 1 kilometer. The world's fastest man is tested on 100 meter dash. Do not forget that. It's not up to a kilometer. So a kilometer is really very far compared to what these guys are trying to prove here. They say equal to 0.2 millimeters. No way. So C is the correct answer. It is equal to 10 millimeter. How? Do you want to know? All right, let's look at this. If you understand that in 1,000, you have 100, 10, 100. 100 into 10 places will give you 1,000. So that's the more reason why they tell you that 10 millimeter is 1 centimeter. Yes. And if you take 100, how many tens will you find in 100? That's another word, 10. That's why they tell you that 10 centimeter is what? 1 decimeter. And we know that 1 decimeter is 1 meter. So C is the correct answer here. Let's go to 21. Quantity of food will last a family of 5 for 21 days. How long will the same quantity last a family of 7 if they eat at the same rate? This is the case of indirect proportion. There is direct proportion and there is indirect proportion. Now, what do we mean by proportion? You see, for direct proportion, as a quantity increase, price increase, which means that direct proportion deals with inanimate object like price of an item, price of an article, price of this marker. If this marker costs 15 naira for one, if I need 10 pieces, then I'm going to pay 50 times 10, which is 500 naira. That's the direct proportion. But for indirect proportion, the more you put, the less you get. Let me give you a clear instance. The work that 5 people will do in 1 hour, one person cannot do that same job in 1 hour. That's the basic truth, except he's a Superman. But there's no Superman in the real life situation. That's just in a comic series. What we have here is this. The more you put in, the less you get. That's an indirect proportion. The food that 10 people will eat in 2 days, one person can definitely not finish that food in 1 day. Although you might be saying, oh, I have a friend that can eat 10 people food in, it's going to collapse. He maybe tries that a day. He cannot try that tomorrow. You can't eat what belongs to 10 people. 10 hefty people, not that 10 tiny people and 1 big hefty giant. That's not a proportion. That's not proper. That's why they always put this thing at the same rate, the same number of people. A family of 5, okay? Maybe family of 5, normal regular 5. Not family of 5 where you have big giants, and a family of 7 where you have smaller giants. So that will not be a proportion. It's you'll meet that kind of question later in your senior class, but not now. Not now. So take note of this word. At the same rate, you're dealing with the same, feeding at the same rate. So this is how you solve this indirect proportion. And I also have a question there also again. You ready? You're going to meet, there's a question here, number 25. Let me relate you to number 25 before I solve it, but we're going to use the same method. They said, if 125 men can do a piece of work in 120 days, 125 people, they did a job, maybe construction job, for 120 days. How many men will be sufficient to do the same work in 100 days? What applies to 25 applies to 21. Anytime you see them tell you some certain set of people do a job in so, they're talking about indirect proportion, because indirect proportion deals with animate objects. What I mean by animate object is human being. Human being. Are you with me? Human being. Or the speed of a car. If you increase the speed of a car, like for instance, you're going at 100 kilometers per hour, you reduce the time it takes for you to get to where you're going to. And if you reduce the speed of the car, that means it will take longer. So that's another case of indirect proportion. Like the more you put, the less you get. The less you put, the more you get. So let's go, shall we? Solution. Now, a quantity of food will last 5 people, a family of 5, for what? 21 days. Now, the question is this. How long will it last 1 member of the family? Just 1 member of the family. If 5 of them will eat it in 21 days, how long will it take one of them? One of them. That's your first concern. So one member of the family will equal to 5 times 21, which equal to what? That should equal to, here, 105 days. The food that 5 people will eat in 21 days, then a member of that family, one of them will eat that food in 105 days. That's just the proportion there. Are you there? Don't put that idea that, oh, I know a friend that can eat 10 persons. Don't do that. Don't do that. They are all the same. That your friend, if he has the same size of people, big, hefty, hungry-looking guys too. 5 hungry-looking guys feed a particular quantity of food for 21 days. Then you now bring one other hefty guy, and now says he has to go approximately 105 days for that food to elapse. Now here, they now ask us. So we know what 1 member will take. So what will now happen is this. How long will it take with the same quantity, the same food, last a member of 7 if they eat at the same rate, then you do like this. Therefore, for 7 members of the family, you're going to have 105, the total number of days divided by what? 7. Then that should give us 10 divided by 7 is 1. That's remainder 3. In 35 should give us 5. So it's going to take them 15 days. A family member of 7 will take them 15 days. For indirect proportion, you see it a lot in your common entrance exam. Whenever I tell you 50 cow can feed on 8 bags of grass in 3 days, just take notice, indirect proportion. So you need to know how long it will take one cow to feed on that particular grass, a bag of grass. Do you understand? It's as simple as that. So get one man, then how long will it take again? Then you get it solved. Are you ready? So the answer to this is 15 days. Are we good? So for that reason, I don't want us to just waste any time on this. I'll take you straight to number 25. Let's solve 25. I'll still solve 22, I'll solve 23, but let's come to 25, shall we? They are related, they are the same question. So let's see what it will look like. If 125 men can do a piece of work in 120 days, what did I say your concern should be? You should know how long it will take one man to do that same job. So if I'm going to solve this, permit me to do this. I'll say, okay, one man, let's write solution here so we don't mix the question up. One man equal to 125 times 120 what? Days. Are you there? Is that clear? So this is what will take one man, 125 times 120 days. I'm not going to multiply it out. The reason is this, because it's an exam, you have to be very, very careful and fast. I multiply 5 times 21 because they are still very small. Though I know I have to divide them by 7. So if I have to come back to 25 here now, if 125 men can do a piece of work in 120 days, how many men will be sufficient to do the same work in 100 days? It's going to be 125 times 120. That should be, can we guess? Let's not guess. Let's not guess. The reason is this. Then I ask another question. How many men will be required or sufficient to do the same work in 100 days? You know what you do? Then, so X number of men that will do the job in 100 days will become 125 times 120 divided by 100. I don't want to waste time. And you should also learn this too. If you know you're going to multiply and divide afterwards, please don't do that. Just, you were told how to do this now. When you learn fraction, you were told how to do this. That's sure. You were told how to do that. So, which will bring us to 125 times 12 all over what? 10. Are we good? So I can still do the same thing by saying 2 year 6, 2 year 5. Agree? So I can now say, okay, this is 125 times 6 over 5. It makes my work simpler. I don't have to multiply large numbers. I can be dividing them as I move. Are we good? So now 5 divided, this one is 1. 5 here will give me 25. So it's easy for me now to multiply 25 times 6. So 25 times 6 will give me, let's say 6 times 5 is 30. Right hand 0, carry 3. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3. It will take me 150 men to do that job in 100 days. If 125 men can do a piece of work in 120 days, how many men will be sufficient to do the same work in 100 days? It is the same as number 21. Please see it clearly. Anytime, they always bring the indirect proportion for you. And when they do, please just get how long it will take one person to do that job. Then any other question they're asking you, divide the total value by the required number they say you should look for. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say is this 21 and 25, you get it under proportion. The topic is called proportion, indirect proportion. There's a direct and there's an indirect proportion. So on that topic, proportion is where you find this 21 and 25. So this is the one we're dealing with, indirect proportion. It's about human being, it's about speed, it's about time taken. Why direct proportion is easy? When I say question on direct proportion, I refer you back to it again. Just take note of that. So for now, this is how you get the answer. And let's get our answer quickly. I showed you the answer to number 19. We got the answer to number 20. Let me point out the answer to number 21 for you. For 21, the answer is 15 days and the answer is B. That's for 21. Then for 25, where we have 125 men, the answer is D. 125 men from that textbook, 23rd edition, this National Common Entrance. The answer is D for 25. Are we good? I'll be ticking it for you as you see it, so that at least you can be comfortable watching it, enjoying the ride while you're at home.